Hey Central Illinois, it's Gino Reynolds from The Real Opinion here in Champaign, Illinois with my coverage of EbertFest 2012. Today I'm going to talk about the movies that I saw on day 2. The first film is called Big Fan, starring Patton Oswalt. Now, I didn't know much about this film other than the fact it was kind of billed as maybe a super fan type movie starring Patton, where he's a super fan of the Giants. Well, what I didn't realize is how odd this movie was going to be. Now, it had its funny moments, it had its serious moments. I wasn't sure what to make of it. I don't know if you'd call it dark comedy. I'm not sure exactly what you'd call it, but at times you were laughing your head off, and at times you were just kind of sitting there with your mouth open because you didn't know what he was going to do. Because it got really dark near the end. And then I gotta say though, I thought it was pretty funny and pretty good for what it was. It's too bad Patton couldn't make it because I was actually wanting to try to meet him. Funny story though, I sat up in the balcony on day two's films, and during the last film of the day, Doug Benson of Super High Me was actually right in front of me in the next section. Wasn't sure at first, and then I figured it out. It was pretty late. I needed to get back and film. Apparently he's gonna be there tomorrow. I'm gonna try to meet him. Who knows? Maybe I'll get a few words with him. I don't know. It just depends on what he wants to do. But he was sitting with another member of the press. I wasn't sure who the guy worked for, but anyway, back to Big Fan. Any sports fan would probably enjoy this. These guys in this movie, it was two friends, and their lives were basically talking, or especially Patton Oswalt's character would call into sports radio, and he would actually script out what he was going to say, and he would pretend like it was just coming off the top of his head. And he would go back and forth with this guy from Philly talking about the Eagles. And that stuff was pretty funny. Patton still lives with his mom in this, and it's just some pretty funny stuff. But then it got really, really dark and really serious, and then it got funny again, and I liked it. I'm not going to call it a perfect film, but I actually really enjoyed it in the end, especially the way it ended. It just kind of was like, it's funny. I had a good time watching it. So if you like sports, you'd probably like this. It kind of makes fun of sports fans a little bit, but the characters in this are actually very eccentric when it comes to their sports. So, but then again, so are some sports fans, and then again, so are some movie fans. So anyway, that was film number 1. Film number 2, and I always mispronounce it, it's called Rwanda, and basically it was about the genocide in Rwanda. And whenever I watched this, the first thing I thought, the way it was being shown, all I could think of was Pulp Fiction, because the times jumped around, and then you'd see things linked together. And what was funny was whenever they talked to the director of the film after he was actually one of the guests here at EbertFest, he said one of my things that I used as inspiration on how to do the film was Pulp Fiction. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. I figured that one out. I liked the film. My problem with it was I thought they introduced too many characters. It was hard to follow. There was only one real connecting story arc, and it was this love story between these two characters. And like I said, I liked the film, but I think it tried to introduce too many people. It was hard to keep track of. It had a very good message about forgiveness and redemption and living in peace. And a lot of people could learn a lot from this film, especially if you're interested. Whenever I saw stuff like Machine Gun Preacher and Hotel Rwanda, which the filmmaker said, of course you're gonna link it to that one. If you like stuff like that, you'd probably like this. Like I said, I liked it. A little hard to follow, but still a very good film. It went over real well with the crowd, so it's an enjoyable film. Not too bad. I won't say I love the film, but it was hard to follow, but I enjoyed it. So that was Rwanda. And the last film of the night, I wasn't sure what to think of this one in the end, and I'll explain why. It was called Terry. It's about this kid that he gets picked on. and he's a bigger kid, and people make fun of him. He wears pajamas to school, and people are always making fun of him because of it. But he says he wears them because they're comfortable, and he wears Crocs and pajamas to school every day. Not the same pajamas, and he's got a very hard life. He lives with his uncle. He doesn't know what happened to his parents. That comes up later. It's just kind of a side note. His uncle at times is very with it, and then at times he's not, and he'll be cooking dinner, and then he'll just be standing there, and the dinner won't burn, and stuff like that. He's just off and on, and so he's got kind of a hard life going on that he doesn't really tell anyone about. And what this movie is about is him figuring out how to get through life, how to be happy. The film ended kind of funny. I'm not a big fan of the "hey, you decide what happens" films. It's fine, but this one, honestly, I kind of felt like it needed more closure. It had decent closure, but I think they could have wrapped it up a little more. At times, the movie felt like Napoleon Dynamite, not kind of in the humor sense, but this movie got a little darker. At times it was really funny, and then at times it's kind of like Big Fan. It got really weird near the end, but then it lightened up again, and so it didn't end on a huge dark note or anything, but it's all about this kid learning to live in the world and be happier. I must say, I'm not a fan of John C. Reilly, but I loved him in this film. He played an assistant principal who helps the main character Terry with different aspects of his life, trying to, they become friends, and I enjoyed the film in the end. Like I said, could have used a better ending, got weird near the end, but all in all, pretty good film, a lot of humor in it. Especially John C. Reilly, he was a joke a minute in this, but in the end he was a very caring, and I wouldn't call him a father figure, but really just a really good friend. It was kind of, you think about a principal and a student being friends, but whenever I was younger, I was kind of friends with our principal when I was in elementary school. So, this kid was older, he was in high school, but I can understand that. It wasn't a weird relationship. They were genuine friends. It wasn't, one of the kids makes comments that it's weird, but he was a weird kid, kind of I don't know if you call him emo, but he was kind of a weird kid, and he ended up being Terry's friend as well. So I liked the movie. Like I said, got weird, but all in all, decent flick. So far, I've enjoyed all the films that they've shown. They all weren't great, but they were decent films that I would say, hey, give them a watch. So anyway, that's day 2 of EbertFest. I will try to have the next video up after the movies I see tomorrow. So anyway, until next time, this is Gino Reynolds from The Real Opinion.